I am all ears, honey. I'm simply made of ears. I did. I totally hit the space bar. But that's fine. We live, we learn. We're figuring it out. Where was I? Oh, yeah. When you read my stories, when you get the chance to do that and I actually start putting them out there in a published form, you can let me know what you think. If you're a writer and you've got any suggestions for the best ways to put that stuff out there, I am all ears, honey. I'm simply made of ears. I would love to hear from you. Artists that I wanted to touch on, visual artists specifically that I wanted to touch on that have really inspired my work are Jean-Michel Basquiat. Visually stunning and evocative and so interesting with simple but effective and complex imagery, ordinary and extraordinary, right? His work was so profound to me because it was exactly what I'd always imagined somebody who lived in a city would want to create work that reflected the city life in its grit and its totality. So his work was very influential for me as well. And then Volley Myers, she's an Australian artist and dancer that was known as the Witch of Positano. Fascinating woman. Worked a lot in pen and ink. And in reading her autobiography, or not autobiography, her biography, so interesting to hear about the kind of life that she lived that informed her work. An incredibly provocative individual without even trying. She just was that way. Everybody that wrote anything about her, had anything to say about her and her work, said that she was a wild, free spirit, something that I aspire to embody more and more in my own life. And her pen and ink drawings are stunningly weird, seemingly airbrushed for being primarily watercolor and pen. I have worked primarily with pen and ink most of my life, mostly because I was raised by a single mother for a good portion of my childhood. She, didn't have money for art supplies. Went with her literally everywhere. She took me to job interviews. She took me to bars with her um, because she didn't have anywhere else. She would hand me the plastic Bic pen, right out of her purse, and a piece of paper or napkin from wherever she could. And I would always say, Mom, I really wish that I had a pencil so I could erase stuff. And she looked at me and said, but think about how good of an artist you could become if you could never erase anything. I learned to appreciate it and I embraced it for what it was. Ballpoint pens, almost the cheaper the better sometimes, are the ones that I go back to sketch pretty much everything unless it's a painting or a larger composition of some kind. Pen and a piece of paper, that's what I work with. Volley Myers, I relate to the fact that she was not afraid to use whatever materials were available to her. She believed, as much in the same way that I believe, and in the same way that Bowie believed, um, that art is the new spirituality. I think that art steps in and takes over where religion once kind of facilitated to the people. And she was very much about that life. She was not outwardly proclaiming herself to be a spiritual teacher. She lived a spiritual life by just being an example of what she felt creatively, and that's what I do and why I do what I do. There is Max Fleischer and the Fleischer Studios that produced the now very popular rubber hose style. See it all over places like Instagram, and Disney, took their inspiration to do that, and they capitalized on that. I'm all about embracing however art thrives, but I am also about accountability, and I do think that it is important to be realistic about history. So two things can be true. A style of cartooning often dealt with really heavy topics, spiritual topics, political topics, and adult material that, despite the medium that it was being used at and the way that that evolved into a more childlike thing, it still got the job done. My character, Squid, Squid Be Mindful, which I'll see if I can put a picture up here for you. I don't know how to do a lot of that stuff, but I'm here to learn. Is a rubber hose character, and the art that I make with that character in mind is always about the things that I'm going through emotionally and what I'm processing spiritually. So yeah, Max Fleischer. And then Timothy Bradstreet, who did a lot of the original artwork for role-playing games like Vampire the Masquerade and Mage the Ascension, other White Wolf properties from the 90s. If you're a 90s kid, you've probably seen some of that work. Characters and mythologies that I really enjoyed. Timothy Bradstreet made it modern and made this urban, dark kind of world out of classic mythologies. And it was really, really cool and really inspiring for me. It definitely kept me drawing at a time when it was hard to continue. And I'm really grateful for those role-playing games and the way that they gave me an outlet towards something both artistic and creative and social that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So, Timothy Bradstreet. Then there were, musicians. Again, David Bowie, huge inspiration. Meeting his character, the Goblin King in Labyrinth, was the first place that that started. Eventually, that turned into appreciating other artists like him, ones that bent gender, like Boy George, shamelessly evocative and erotic, but also incredibly artistic, like Grace Jones. The darker artists like Robert Smith from The Cure, Susie Sue from Susie and the Banshees, they all brought so much inspiration into my life that it was impossible not to find their influences continuing to show up in my own work. These artists that introduced me to art and creativity inevitably introduced me to other artists that would inspire my work for years to come. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that. Let me know down in the comments if you are interested in seeing more of my artwork, and know that there will be more progress drawings of characters and scenes from my books where I will be discussing in short form videos the creative process as well as the world building and everything that I'm putting into my first novel. Please let me know. What is it that you would be more interested in learning about? Out of all the things that I've discussed today, it's really a plethora, so feel free to let me know what you think and let me know what you'd like to see more of. And if you've made it this far in the video, again, thank you very much, and I will see you next time.